The Wisconsin Dells police chief on 2-week suspension. What led to that decision? Right now at 10.
And later, the first of 3 debates. The candidates for Wisconsin U.S. senators square off on stage.
This is News 3 at 10.
The city of Wisconsin Dells suspending its police chief for 2 weeks after a letter he wrote in early September.
It seemed to defend a man charged with his 6th OWI, calling him a valuable member of the community. Amy Reed breaks down the situation way back from when it started last year.
His name is still on the door, but starting Thursday, Police Chief Jody Ward will be out of the office without pay for 2 weeks. The suspension came from the city, citing a letter Ward wrote to the court in September about a man charged with his 6th OWI. In it, he said the man, James Connors, is trustworthy and kind and a valuable member of the Wisconsin Dells community. Connors is the co-owner of Nick's Bar in the Dells, right next to where the last OWI arrest happened in August last year. According to court paperwork, police found Connors here noticeably drunk. The officer told him not to drive, but park nearby to keep an eye out. They saw Connors pull out of the parking lot where they pulled him over, and he blew a .21 BAC. This is Connors' 6th OWI, which would normally be a felony, but he only got 3 years probation. Connor's lawyer told me that the chief's letter had nothing to do with that. The lawyer wouldn't go on camera, but he did send me the plea questionnaire, filed July 23rd of this year, more than a month before the chief wrote his letter. It shows Connor's lawyer's recommendation of 3 years probation, due in part to the fact Connor's last OWI was 14 years ago. But the judge still had the chief's letter when he decided to go with the recommendation, getting the chief's word that Connors made a personal promise that he's committed to his sobriety, and that Connors' future sobriety would be enhanced if he was monitored electronically. In Ward's suspension, the city said Ward understands and accepts he should not have conveyed a character reference for an OWI offender, but still that the media account generated public comment and controversy, detrimental to the image, reputation, and interests of the city and police department. Ward's suspension will last until October 25th. We reached out to the city, the police department, the lawyer for the city, and both Ward and Connors. No one wanted to talk with us on camera. The lawyer from the city said the suspension letter for Ward speaks for itself.
Amy Reed reporting tonight. Amy, thank you.
The governors of Florida and Alabama have declared states of emergency in advance of Hurricane Michael. The storm gained strength as it blew through Cancun and western Cuba earlier today, becoming a Category 1 hurricane. The storm is expected to strengthen as it nears the coast. Landfall is expected later this week. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Gary Canolfi with a closer look at that storm. Gary?
Eric, it is a Category 1 hurricane right now, but it is forecast to strengthen. The National Weather Service has issued hurricane warnings pretty much for the entire Florida panhandle. There are tropical storm warnings and hurricane watches into parts of central Florida, as well as for parts of Alabama, and then tropical storm watches as far west as just east of New Orleans and as far south as Tampa. Now, as we take a look at Michael over the last 12 hours, it strengthened into a Category 1 hurricane that passed just past the western tip of Cuba, but now it's moving out over the open waters of the Gulf of Mexico. Maximum sustained winds now up to 90 miles per hour, moving to the north at 12 miles per hour. Very latest forecast from the National Hurricane Center strengthens it into a Category 3 hurricane as it makes landfall sometime around 1 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon. And then as it heads off to the northeast, still remains at tropical storm strength as it pushes through the Carolinas and then races out into the Atlantic Ocean. Now, that will allow the weather system that's over us, that's keeping our weather mild, to gradually move eastward and eventually start drying us out toward the end of the end of the week. There is an alert day in the forecast for tomorrow and tomorrow night, mainly tomorrow night for some thunderstorms that could produce some heavy rainfall that could lead to some flooding, as well as the potential for some severe weather. Tonight, some severe thunderstorms have produced tornadoes south of Des Moines, Iowa, and thunderstorms are moving into parts of southwestern Wisconsin. In fact, the Storm Prediction Center has now put a slight risk of severe thunderstorms into far southwestern Wisconsin overnight and a marginal risk elsewhere across southern Wisconsin. Tomorrow, that severe weather risk pretty much in the same area, expanding it eastward a little bit. As far as precipitation potential, looks like the computer models are just in the process of updating, but right now it looks like perhaps as much as 1 to 2 inches of rain over much of southern Wisconsin through early Thursday morning. Flood and flash flood watches are in effect for the western portions of Wisconsin. Low temperatures this morning in the lower 50s, high temperatures today close to 80, and we'll be looking for the possibility for some more showers and thunderstorms tomorrow with high overnight temperatures topping out at around 79 degrees. That's your First Alert forecast.
Thank you. The Wisconsin Senate race heated up tonight.
U.S. Senator Tammy Baldwin and Republican challenger Leah Vukmir face off for the first time. Keely Arthur joins us with a closer look at this debate tonight. Keely?
That's right. It was a very fiery face-off. Vukmir and Baldwin sparred on a number of topics, including health care, immigration, and the Me Too movement. Their first debate took place at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. Healthcare was the first topic of the night, with a number of questions surrounding the Affordable Care Act. Baldwin supports it and says Vukmir's push to repeal it would jeopardize protection for people with pre-existing conditions. Vukmir pushed for repealing the national healthcare law, saying she would fall in front of a truck before letting people go without coverage for pre-existing conditions. Things became even more heated, though, when the Toma VA scandal came up.
When I think about veterans, I think about how she turned her back on the veterans at the Toma VA. It is absolutely disgraceful that for months she sat on a report that she and only she had that detailed the extent to which our veterans were being overprescribed opioids.
I think that Leah Vukmir should be ashamed of herself for using a Marine veteran's death for her own political gain. And when I learned about overprescribing across the VA system, but particularly at Toma, I worked with that Marine veteran's family, his widow, his daughter, his parents, to enact Jason's Law.
Jason's Law toughened opioid prescription guidelines at the VA. It's named in honor of the Marine who died while treated at the facility. Vukmir is down in the most recent polls. They'll face off twice more before the November 6th election.
All right, Keely, thank you very much.
New Supreme Court Associate Justice Brett Kavanaugh was publicly sworn in tonight on national television after a weeks-long tense battle over his nomination. Kavanaugh was privately sworn in Saturday after the Senate voted 50-48 to confirm him. President Trump apologized to the entire Kavanaugh family during the ceremony after the controversy surrounding his nomination. Kavanaugh will have his first day on the bench tomorrow. Reconstruction of Sun Prairie's Main Street is ahead of schedule after July's explosion. Officials confirm that the intersection destroyed during the explosion will open next month. The July 10th incident killed one firefighter and injured several other people. City officials say they wanted to get Bristol and Main Streets open as quickly as possible because it is vital to the downtown area. The construction was originally set to be completed in December.
Another major project, Verona Road, will be shifting its traffic pattern tonight. You can start driving on the newly paved part of the southbound lanes between Raymond Road south to Williamsburg Way, but other lanes are closed. Access to businesses and neighborhoods remains open, but drivers should expect some backups with those changes. In the last decade, the number of children needing inpatient psychiatric care increased by nearly 80%.
Our community is trying to keep up with that need. Today, officials at Unity Point Health Merritt detailed their expansion plans at their adolescent psychiatry facility. Built in the early 2000s, the upgrades will include a kitchen, yoga room, and other upgrades that reflect changes in how to deal with mental health in children. Most importantly, the facility will increase the number of beds, allowing for more children to be served.
When kids need treatment, they can come into the hospital and we'll have the room to take them. Right now during the school year, especially with adolescents, we can run a wait list as deep as 26 people, and that's just unacceptable. That can take weeks for somebody that's struggling to come into the hospital.
The upgrades will be done in 2020, costing about $13 million. Still to come tonight, your forecast for the rest of the week, including a dramatic cool down.
And an in-depth look at the potential long-term implications and possible solutions to all this flooding we've experienced in recent weeks. That's next at 10.
Consistent rain has our lakes persistently above their maximum levels. It's led to flooding that seems to have touched all of our communities directly or even indirectly.
Dane County looking for a long-term solution now. Keely Arthur with a closer look at how this problem came to be and what can be done to fix it.
We've been in this location since 1985.
In that time, countless bottles of wine, booze, and beer have stocked these cork and bottle shelves. But lately, proprietor Bob Haymauer is stocking something else. Sandbags.
We want to be cautious because we don't have a big pocketbook to play with.
The East Johnson liquor store, along with so many other businesses and homes on the Isthmus and beyond, put up sandbags in August, bracing for severe flooding after historic rainfall set near record high levels on Lake Mendota.
We were kind of like watching it being like, what's going to happen? And yeah, it was nerve-wracking.
A month and a half later, flood damage has totaled $3.9 million publicly in the city, according to the mayor's office. An estimated millions more privately, and rough waters might still be ahead.
Driving into today, looking at the lake levels was not necessarily encouraging, so we're definitely keeping an eye on it.
It could be way worse.
How much worse if nothing is done?
We would just see an order of magnitude 10 times the kind of damage we had this year.
Professor Emeritus of Engineering Ken Potter says if we're hit by another major storm in the future or consecutive days of rainfall.
Let's recognize that we missed 3 storms that could have hit us. In fact, the one that hit us a few weeks ago really missed us. It mostly hit Middleton and to the west.
If it feels like this is a more precarious problem than before, you're right. Potter says 2 dominant factors are to blame for increasing lake levels: bigger rain events.
Most people attribute those increases to, at least in part, to climate change. And then the other part is urbanization.
So instead of soaking into the earth, water runs off the concrete into storm sewers and then our lakes. In the 1970s, when Lake Mendota's levels were set by the Department of Natural Resources, urban development in Madison was half of what it is now. And Dane County is now looking into if that should change.
Keep calibrating and fine-tuning our models.
It's John Reimer's job to lead the charge on what to do next.
We were up-down with our flows.
Last week, the assistant director of the Land and Resource Department for the county spoke in front of the board, taking the first step toward a long-term solution.
Not every alternative is a good thing. Depending on what lake you're on, it may negatively impact you or it positively impacts you, but we want to provide these different options and what are their pros and cons.
One option to solve flooding is improving flow down the Yahara chain. That includes weed cutting, which in one case study increased movement by 2.5 times, dredging or removing other obstructions.
Several bridges and some other structures that retard the movement of that water. And if that water doesn't move, if you let water go from Mendota to Monona and it can't clear the lakes, you're going to increase flooding of Monona and Wabisa and Kaganza.
Madison Mayor Paul Soglin has also recommended lowering the lake by a foot or 2. The county is exploring formally asking the DNR to do so, but Potter says that's not the answer.
The amount of water coming into the system can't drain very freely. And so even though we talk about starting the lakes lower and so on and so forth, it's very challenging to do that. They fill up very quickly.
In the meantime, there is something you and developers can do right now to reduce flooding, prevent runoff.
Rain gardens, basins that collect water and then infiltrate it, so larger scale basins or roof gardens. So there's a variety of ways of doing that.
Originally, the hill was all the brush like that over there or bare spots.
Tom Melms, whose home is high up on Lake Mendota, is conscious of rainwater rolling off his property and into the lakes. He's come up with his own way to help: boulders and strategically placed plants to soak in water.
Daylilies go into the ground and it's like concrete. I mean, that you're not going to do any kind of runoff.
Earlier this month, the Dane County Board approved the creation of a task force that will look at all the options and make a recommendation next March. So these sandbags might be here a while.
We're anxious to get rid of them.
Despite the eyesore, Haymauer is quick to add he's inspired to see homeowners, business owners, and policymakers alike all seem more connected to the water and concerned for it than ever before.
Everyone who's seen what happened here realizes that this is part of the new normal in Madison, and solutions need to be thought of. And I think I'm grateful that we are a community that is not ignoring it.
Keely Arthur, WISC News 3.
And for an interactive look at our lake levels, you can go to our website, channel3000.com.
Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalti joins us now with a look at our forecast, and we do have more rain.
We don't need any more rain, but
Right.
at least over the next 48 hours we will. Let's start out by taking a look at an alert day that we have in the forecast for tomorrow, especially tomorrow night. That's the best chances for heavier showers and thunderstorms will roll through. There's also the potential for some severe weather. Now tonight there have been some thunderstorms in west central Wisconsin, a few showers north of Madison. The best chances for rain overnight will stay north and west of Madison, but some of these thunderstorms have produced tornado touchdowns south of Des Moines, Iowa. They're continuing to head toward the north and northeast. They are weakening a little bit, but the Storm Prediction Center did add a slight risk of severe thunderstorms overnight into far southwestern Wisconsin, keeping the marginal risk in the same area. And for tomorrow, that risk kind of expands more to the north and east over much of southern Wisconsin for the possibility for high winds and hail and the stronger thunderstorms. Live view from the Edgewater Skycam in downtown Madison. Skies are just cloudy here tonight, but it is mild. The low this morning, 52, the high 79, and even at 10 o'clock, we're still at 71 with mostly cloudy skies, winds out of the south at 8. Look at that dew point temperature, 64 degrees. As we look at weather track, you can see the showers and thunderstorms moving more to the north and northeast following along the jet stream. So it'll be a while before these fronts can eventually move their way southward and bring in cooler air. There's much colder air north of that front there. Notice the temperatures up there in North Dakota in the 30s while we're still in the 70s. And those dew point temperatures are in the 60s as far north as southern Wisconsin. There'll be plenty of fuel for more showers and thunderstorms. Overnight, look for a low temperature of 65 degrees. Again, a flood watch in effect for the far western parts of our viewing area. Slight chance of a shower or thunderstorm mainly north and west of Madison. For tomorrow, the high at 79 with a chance of showers and thunderstorms, although much of the day will probably be dry. Future track shows the best chance of showers and storms north and west of Madison tonight. A chance of a shower or thunderstorm during the day tomorrow with highs in the upper 70s. Better chances for showers and storms start to arrive tomorrow night into Wednesday. High temperatures on Wednesday will be a little bit cooler, and the rainfall amounts probably somewhere in the half-inch to an inch range, but there could be some local amounts in excess of 2 inches and heavier thunderstorms. 7 to 10 day forecast, much cooler weather arrives. High temperatures drop back into the 40s by the end of the week, and nighttime low temperatures drop to around freezing with some frost possible. Then we'll see a little warm up next week, taking our temperatures back into the upper 60s by the end of the week.
All right, Gary, thank you.
Okay.
The NLCS is set. We'll show you who the Brewers will face on Friday. That's next in sports.
News
Well, it was a little bit of wait and see for the Brewers today. The crew punching its ticket to the NLCS for the first time since 2011 with a sweep over the Rockies in the NLDS yesterday. The Brewers back in Wisconsin as of this afternoon, and after all the champagne celebrations in Colorado last night, the team now has a few days to get ready for the NLCS to hopefully keep this hot streak going. Now, as for the other NLDS game, Dodgers up 2-1 over the Braves coming into this afternoon. Dodgers up 1-0 until the fourth. 2 outs for Kurt Suzuki. Jock Peterson bobbles that one. Can't quite get it. So Johan Camargo and Tyler Flowers score 2-1 Braves. 6th inning now, David Freese gets that one through the gap. 2 RBI single bringing Cody Bellinger and Yasiel Puig home. Dodgers take the 3-2 lead. They win 6-2 for their 3rd straight trip to the NLCS. Game 1 on Friday at Miller Park at 7 p.m. Dodgers, they did win the regular season series against the Brewers 4-3. Well, a top 15 matchup for the Badgers this weekend as 15th ranked Wisconsin visiting number 12 Michigan. So the Badgers expecting a big challenge, but that's a good thing according to Dakota Dixon.
It's always tough, but you know, honestly, I feel like it kind of makes us play better at a lot of times. Makes us want to play that much harder. So that's all that it comes down to. You just got to keep doing the same thing, really.
The Packers hoping to learn from mistakes made against the Lions yesterday. Green Bay lost to Detroit 31-23. It was a weird day for the offense. Aaron Rodgers fumbling the ball twice. And in terms of the ground game, they only accounted for 98 of the 423 yards of total offense, an area head coach Mike McCarthy wants to work on.
I think it's very obvious the balance that we're seeking from our running back position. I think it's one of the strengths that we've had since Aaron's come back. We have 3 young men that we believe in and 3 guys that contribute. But there's more to to playing the position, just running the football.
And round 1 of the WIA State Girls Golf Tournament at University Ridge. Janeville Parker's Sophia Duman clanking that one off the flagstick on 14. She shoots 83, is in the top 25 individually. Big local story in Division 1 is Stoughton's Kaylee Kotlowski. She won the sectional with 73 at Reedsburg last week. Today she matches that 73 at U Ridge and is tied for 2nd at 1 over par. In the Division 1 team race, Kettle Moraine leading with Middleton in 2nd, Milton 4th, and Wanakee 7th. And a familiar story in Division 2, Edgewood with a comfortable lead after day 1. Grace Welch leading the Crusaders, shooting a 78 today. That's good for 2nd place. Now, all 4 Edgewood scores were in the top 15 today. That has the Crusaders in 1st. They are 17 shots ahead of 2nd place Xavier. And final week of the regular season for high school football. So we've got a battle in the Capital North. Lakeside Lutheran at Lodi. Blue Devils are the defending Division 4 state champs. Now that game has been moved to Wanakee though due to field conditions at Lodi. Jay Wilson will have the call alongside Bill Brophy and Alan Minert on TVW and channel3000.com. We'll be right back.
Gary's back. One final check of the forecast.
Well, we do have more rain in the forecast. There's a flood watch for Crawford County through early Wednesday morning. Here's the latest precipitation potential, about a ½ to an inch of rain through Wednesday night, but there could be some spots that pick up much more than that. Look at those totals out by La Crosse and Black River Falls. Tonight, just the showers and storms out to the west of us, but expect more rain, especially tomorrow night and Wednesday.
All right. Thanks for joining us at 10.
Do something good, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.
Making plans that are weather dependent? Get an accurate 12-hour, even a 10-day forecast. Download the Channel 3000 First Alert Weather app and start planning.